Well, I have two iconic figures in the field of marine conservation. And as you can see from the background, I have met them halfway between the terrestrial tropical forests that I know and love and the marine world which is behind them, and we're in a mangrove swamp. On my left I have Nancy Knowlton, and on my right Sylvia Earle. Nancy, you were saying in your interview just now that there is an extraordinary amount of diversity in coral reefs, that most marine diversity is there, and also that most of the marine diversity perhaps has not been found. Could you elaborate on that?
Coral reefs are amazingly diverse. We think that maybe a quarter to a third of all the species that live in the ocean actually live with coral reefs, which is an amazing statistic when you think about the fact that if you squashed all the reefs together into one place, they'd only be the size of Texas or the country France. And so really, if we're trying to protect the diversity of the oceans, we have to protect the diversity of the reefs. The numbers could be as high as 10 million, but we really don't know, because those estimates are based on an extrapolation from the number of insects that live in rainforests and also a partial count of everything that lived in a tropical aquarium in Baltimore. So those aren't estimates, those are guesstimates. We really don't know. One study that we did do recently found that in an area of reef, just 6 square yards, sort of pieces of reef taken apart in various parts of the world's tropical oceans, there are almost as many crabs in 6 square yards of reef as in all of Europe. So it's a huge amount of diversity, and most of it has no name yet at all.
It would be remiss of me, Nancy, if I didn't ask you about your new book. Please tell us about your new book.
Well, it's off somewhere being printed right now. It's called Citizens of the Sea, and it was written in honor of the Census of Marine Life, which was a big project, a 10-year project, trying to figure out how many species do live in the ocean and how many used to live there and what the future might hold. It's a book for all of you listeners. It's not, I tried to get rid of every single piece of jargon I could, but there's a lot of science sort of buried in there without you knowing it. And it tells the stories of a lot of different species and how they make their living and basically how the ocean works.
Thank you. Sylvia Earle is a National Geographic Society explorer. What's happened to our reefs here in the Keys over your experience?
Well, putting it very simply, they've been devastated. The loss of the big fish, the little fish, the corals, the seagrass beds, the mangroves, you name it. It's been depleted, changed, modified in drastic ways. Having said that, what we see here is an example of the ocean's resilience, and also plenty of reason for hope, because those few areas that truly have been protected, parts of Biscayne Bay fit that category, have more diversity, greater abundance of the things that are missing elsewhere, and the fish that are present tend to be larger than in the surrounding area. There is hope, if we take care of what remains, that we can see a recovery, not to what it used to be, but certainly better than it is today.
I know that you have quite recently been on a National Geographic Society expedition to Palmyra Atoll. Perhaps you can share that. What was it like to go to a reef that's really in good shape, and what are the things that you see? What are the things that you found so wonderful there?
Well, these reefs are sort of in the middle of nowhere, and they don't have many people, or essentially no people on them, and so they're really protected from all the local things that people do to reefs, mainly overfish them and put in and make the water quality poor. And these reefs are spectacular. They have lots and lots of living coral, well over 50%, sometimes close to 100% of the bottom is living coral. And in the swimming around, everything is basically your size or larger. And 80, if you take all the fish and sort of weigh up the fish flesh on a reef that hasn't been fished, but 80% of that weight is top predators, sharks, groupers, things like that. And actually, even scientists thought it was impossible to have so much of the ecosystem dominated by top predators. The question is, what would they eat? And it was thought to be impossible. And on land, in fact, it doesn't work that way. But in the ocean, that turns out to be the natural state of affairs. These sort of upside-down food webs that are dominated by predators. And the reason we didn't realize that was the natural state of affairs is that in most places we'd already eaten everything before we started studying it.
Ladies, Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure talking to you both, and a real thrill to spend the last 24 hours with you here at the Biscatne National Park Bioblitz. Thank you. My third, a wonderful marine conservation biologist is Claire Fiesler from Duke University's Marine Lab at Beaufort in North Carolina. And Claire has just been complaining that she looks mucky because she's been swimming around in a seagrass bed. So we will read into the record the fact that she has not had a chance to put up on her makeup and all the rest of it.
Or shower.
Or shower. Claire, tell us about the work you do with parrotfish and what their role is in the reef, and why you think that the loss of parrotfish may be a major problem for reef restoration.
Parrotfish are really key parts of the reef ecosystem. What they do is that they graze off the coral reef, and they graze the macroalgae that grows on the corals. And so without parrotfish there, the macroalgae overgrow and they take up space on the reef that is usually for corals. And so what you then get, you go from a coral-dominated system to an algae-dominated system when you don't have these key parrotfish there in place.
So why are the parrotfish disappearing?
One of the main reasons is that we're fishing down our food webs, and so snappers and groupers are traditionally the seafood that we like to eat in the Caribbean. It's tasty. We've been eating them for a while. But now those snappers and groupers, there's not so many anymore, and so instead of the snappers and groupers, we're actually fishing out the parrotfish to eat instead.
Claire, thank you so much, and good luck with your Young Explorers grant from National Geographic.
Thank you very much.